know you Darklings have heard Christian talk about Manscaped, but guess what? It's not just about razors and male grooming anymore. Allow me to introduce the new Scalp Buffer, a gender-neutral product for your cleansing routine, available at manscaped.com, where you can get 20% off plus free shipping with the code PRETTYDARK. My hair loves to hang on to product, which usually drives me crazy, but thankfully the Scalp Buffer's thick silicone bristles are 100% antibacterial, helping our scalp stay clean and refreshed by gently exfoliating dry skin and reducing product buildup. Plus, the separation and lather it creates enhances shampoo penetration, making your shampoo last longer, which means saving money for more important things like maybe your Halloween costume. It's designed to stimulate blood flow to your hair follicles, and come on, we all know increased blood flow means healthier hair. Personally, I have trouble remembering to use certain products, and I hate a complicated routine. Just your typical shampoo with the Scalp Buffer adds all of these benefits without compromising more time. Simply put, the Scalp Buffer is your favorite scalp's favorite product. Have I said the word scalp enough times yet? Give your hair care routine a serious yet simple upgrade. Grab the Scalp Buffer and get yourself 20% off plus free shipping with the code PRETTYDARK at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code PRETTYDARK at manscaped.com.
You're listening to That's Pretty Dark,
the podcast where we talk about all of the entertainment that scared us as children
and still haunts us as adults. So grab your flashlight and join us as we take a frightfully nostalgic look over our shoulders
and under our beds
and in our closets.
And together we'll realize, whoa, that's pretty dark.
Pretty dark.
Good afternoon, Darkling friends.
It's not afternoon, it is the morning. What are you talking about?
Well, it's afternoon where I am because
that's true. Oh, God.
I am in Atlanta. I'm on the road. This is the very first time we've ever done like a Pretty Dark on location, but it's not a dark location. I don't know if that's fortunate or unfortunate. It's just a normal location. But I'm at my sister's house in Atlanta because I had a belated birthday gift to see Simple Plan and Avril Lavigne tonight.
That's super exciting, for real.
I am so pumped. I have loved both of these bands for
I'm very jealous.
20 years. I mean, I say bands. Avril's not a band, but you know what I mean. And
she works with a band.
She works with a band.
She has a band that plays with her.
Not just her on stage. But I am
Give
really
some
excited
credit
about it. And
watch the credits at the end of the movie, Caitlin. There's a lot of people involved.
There's a lot of people that make these things go on.
Especially the video game credits. You ever seen those? They go on for miles.
Ridiculous. Yeah. They usually there are certain games that'll force you to watch it. But yeah, so I'm in a different place. So if I sound different, I'm using my old microphone and I'm in kind of a mobile setup in a different room. So
yeah, well, I'm just over here trying to wake up. It's been a long time since we've done even an early afternoon.
Yeah, we usually do evening recording.
So I'm sleep deprived and coffee fueled and ready to get started. I am forever alone, Christian Mott.
And I am punk rock princess, Kaylin.
Oh, God, it's going to be a great time today. There's only one word on my mind that I can't stop thinking about and can't get enough of. You know what word that is, Kaylin?
Halloween.
Triskaidekaphobia.
Oh.
Fear of the number
13. I should have guessed that. I really should have.
I mean, Halloween's not too far off because
it's September now, and we were just talking about that. So.
No, seriously, because we're back to this almost a year later from last October. Mm-hmm. Hey Arnold's Friday the 13th episode was almost a year ago.
I can't think about that. It breaks my brain. This weekend, a year ago, is also when kind of all my health problems kicked in.
Oh,
and they're not gone. So September was a really hard month for me last year, and I am bound and determined to make this September a better one.
Hopefully, this one's better.
I'd rather have triskaidekaphobia.
Me too. Tonight on That's Pretty Dark, we're covering Are You Afraid of the Dark Season 2, Episode 4, The Tale of the 13th Floor.
This is a big one. This is a really big one.
This is one of the ones that reran all the time. I saw this one all the time.
All the time. So I have mentioned to you guys that I'm at my sister's in Atlanta right now, and my sister is younger than me by 2 years. So there are I would call them pop culture gaps in our knowledge. There are definitely things that I watched or saw that she has no recollection of.
Sure, yeah.
But when I got in last night, I was like, "Hey, would you want to watch the episode that I'm going to be covering tomorrow?" And her husband, they're like, "Yeah, sure." And he's even younger than she is, and he's never seen it. But as soon as as soon as like some of the most iconic scenes, the colors even, my sister was freaking out. She was like, I remember this. I know this. Like she was losing it. I was
It's
like, now you're
very
experiencing what I
visually
experience
memorable.
every 2 weeks when I watch something for the
Right.
show.
Right. Welcome
It
to
was-
our
it was
world.
Crazy. Yeah.
Is it heaven? Is it hell?
Who knows?
Somewhere in between?
Somewhere in between. Always.
Yeah, no, super memorable. This one is featured on no less than a dozen lists of like top scariest Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes that I'd found and read, like looked at just this week. So many people consider this one of the most traumatizing, frightening, nightmare-inducing episodes. And there are a lot of them.
Mhm.
But I think there's some very good reasons why this one always
There is
makes that
something
list.
deeply unsettling about this episode.
For sure. Probably because it contains strong themes of stranger danger and identity crisis. Much like we just got into with the face in the milk carton, but also with that same twist of Watcher in the Woods thrown in for good measure, what with all the aliens and the stressful time crunch and such.
It's a doozy, as we say sometimes.
All sources agree. This episode released on July 10th, 1993.
It's rare that the sources agree.
It's like the stars aligning. It's almost unheard of.
The planets, you might say.
More on that continually for the next hour and a half. The IMDb summary is lacking.
Not surprised.
Karen and her brother Billy spend most of their time on the unused 13th floor of their apartment building. But one day, they visit the floor and find out it isn't the same.
It's all contained in one sentence, and it really contains very little
It's like an anti-ghost story.
at all.
It's like, one day, they went up to the attic, and it wasn't that scary at all. It's like, what? Who wrote this? Alvin Schwartz, you've really gone downhill in your post-life years. You've really been a disappointment.
Who knows what the afterlife does to us?
I wish we could talk
What
to
horrors
Poe.
await.
I really want to talk to Poe. I really
About
wish.
the horrors of the afterlife,
Yeah,
right?
I really, because he wrote about it
He
so
wrote about
often.
it before he got there.
I really, really need to know his opinion now that he's there.
That would be amazing.
Adoptive siblings, Karen and Billy, typically spend their latchkey days of summer on the abandoned 13th floor of their apartment building, the eerie, vacant floor, whose last tenants mysteriously vanished 10 years before. But when a new toy factory pops up practically overnight and inhabits the 13th floor, Karen, and Karen alone, is invited to test out the new merchandise, which turns out to be a sequence of tests that'll prove whether or not she's fit for life on another planet. Needless to say, the new toy factory upstairs is out of this world.
Nice. Nice. I think I wrote that somewhere too.
Yeah, just get ready, you guys.
These are my favorite kinds of puns, though. Space puns are amazing.
Space puns are fun. They just sort of go round and round, orbiting in a very specific way. I'm also been on the fringes of getting sick for like a week. So
Oh, God.
I apologize for my voice.
I can't tell.
It's happening again.
But it is the morning time, so we both probably sound a little different.
This episode was written by Ann Appleton, who also wrote Hungry Hounds and Captured Souls.
Yes.
Did we ever question or figure out if she was another one of DJ's pseudonyms?
We definitely questioned it, and I don't think we ever figured it out. But I remember having that conversation because, not to say that somebody can't be named Ann Appleton,
Ann
but it is an
Appleton.
awfully convenient name to have as a writer on a show where a man uses a female pseudonym already, or a feminine pseudonym, I should say. It's convenient. That's all I know.
It reminds me of, I'm sure I said this last time, my friend Courtney, we used to be co-editors for a publication, and one of her pseudonyms was like Anna Page.
You may have said that, yeah.
Page paper, like page turning.
Page.
It was something like that. I'll have to ask her, but she was proud of it. It was,
Puns abound.
just all over the place. The apple cart's upset. Apples don't fall far from the tree.
I could see you like trying to find that one. I could see it in your eyes.
Oh, God, I'm hanging on for dear life. This episode, why did I say it like that?
It's your Disney voice, Christian.
Jesus Christ. You can tell I haven't slept much. And this episode is directed by another first to our show, Michael Cush.
2 in a row.
Cush. Who also directed The Tale of the Quicksilver in Season 3. He's a writer-director from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, although his career consists mostly of German-language TV movies, which I found very specific and nuanced and odd, but cool for him.
Way to go.
Before he got into all that, he directed 1 episode of Sliders, 1 episode of The Outer Limits, and 2 episodes of the TV series Poltergeist, The Legacy.
Some spooky stuff on his resume.
I had to mention it. So the episode opens with a handheld POV shot of someone walking through the brush toward the Midnight Society's campfire. Not uncommon in this neck of the woods.
Oh.
The fire is being built by Gary, Kiki, and Frank, who hears the approaching footsteps and says,
"You ever get the feeling you're being watched?"
All the time.
and on cue, these 3 are blinded by the bright beams of flashlights.
Hey, yo, turn off the brights.
Yeah, we know who you are.
Really?
I thought this was really clever. Like, actually.
I agree. I thought it was a lot of fun.
It's like a tractor beam play.
Ooh, hey, you're right.
Yeah, I thought that was really clever on DJ's part. Or perhaps,
And
what's his name?
Appleton. Oh, or, Michael Cush.
Every week.
There's a lot of ominous dialogue here delivered by Kristen, David, and Betty Ann, which can be summed up into one sentiment. How well do you really know someone, including yourself?
If you stare long enough, you might see a stranger here.
Very much face in the milk carton vibes.
And then they turn up their flashlights to cast those long shadows on their faces.
I really liked that Kristen was recruited for this like performance. It's a
I
little bit
know
of a
she had to
skit.
be. And
she's
David
a
too,
theater
because
kid.
he appreciates her
Yes.
performances so much.
Yes.
I think they
It
were
was-
both easy
It was like the
draws.
perfect casting for this little skit because they all very much wanted to do it and be involved, and I think that's so cute.
Yeah.
I would have been in on that big
It's
time.
the more enthusiastic theatrical group, and then more of the skeptics on this side.
Yes.
In a weird way, the ones
Yeah.
who give people grief in a way.
Perfect.
But this is also where Gary gets impatient for the story.
Are we having a story tonight, or are we just playing games?
But this is the first and hopefully the only time that I'm a little bit annoyed with Gary.
Oh no.
He does occasionally roll his eyes at a gimmick and try to get the Midnight Society members, to make their point, get back on track. But if it were me, I'd be sitting back, nodding along, super excited about just how good this was going to get.
Mm-hmm.
But he's over here is there a point to this, you guys? Come on. Gary, relax just for once in your life.
Immerse yourself.
Enjoy this
Enjoy the ride.
singular experience that you've given all of us
Yeah.
for the rest of our lives.
My story is about strangers among us. You see them every day, but never take the time to look. But if you did, you might find that the scariest strangers are the ones inside ourselves.
And okay, I understand the appeal of a description like strangers among us,
Mm-hmm.
but I have some beef with it being applied to this story. It's not incorrect necessarily, because it does have some Body Snatchers vibes to it,
Mhm.
but that doesn't seem to be the actual point that Betty Ann wants to make
Yeah.
with it.
She's going for something a little more psychological.
Psychological, nuanced, more personal and intimate
Yes.
than
Agreed.
that.
Agreed.
But I'm going to address this further as part of my conclusion.
Okay.
So go ahead and sit on the edge of your seats.
We invite you to the edge of your seat.
Or do what Gary should have done and sit back and relax and enjoy the hell out of yourself. That's what I'm trying to do every day. Every day.
Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, I call this story The Tale of the 13th Floor.
The storytelling begins with Karen and Billy riding the old manual elevator up to the 13th floor of their apartment building. And the elevator dial here reminds me so much of the Tower of Terror.
Me
You could
too.
almost see DJ's future in these couple shots.
Yes, it felt so connected to Tower of Terror. And it's wild that there's that thread that kind of you can follow through somebody's career. I love to look for things like that, things that draw you in.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, that was a really happy little nod in my mind.
Betty Ann's voiceover lets us know that nobody lived on the 13th floor of the old renovated building, which was the top floor. The last tenants had disappeared years ago, vanished into thin air. The friendly elevator operator, Gus, echoes Betty Ann's narration, and he offers them a paranoid but correct opinion that the kids shouldn't play up there by themselves.
Yeah.
Of course, come tomorrow, they won't be alone up there, will they?
Ooh.
Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. We don't really know how much time has passed, but he's right, nonetheless.
It's pretty dangerous to play in any kind of abandoned
Yeah, seriously.
place. Even though you think like the floor of an apartment building is probably relatively safe. There's still broken glass and
Oh, yeah.
just
Fallen electrical wires on puddles of water.
yeah, there's a reason why they block off like construction sites and, it's just not safe. It kind of reminded me a little bit though of Arnold's like corner lot.
Yeah.
Arnold and the gang, they had that corner lot that was just abandoned, and when it's abandoned, when it's empty, it can be whatever you want it to be. So there's
the possibilities
100%,
are endless, right?
Exactly. There's that appeal of an abandoned place.
I know what you mean.
A place that imagination can build for you.
Sure.
And so as a kid, 100% get the draw, would totally want to be in there. I would be doing the same exact shit. But then as a grown up looking at it, it's like, you probably shouldn't actually be in there though.
No, totally. I mean, as an adult working on movies, having filmed in numerous abandoned locations in Mississippi, you can only imagine how god-awful that is. On, low budget, ultra low budget stuff with not good security or, location, I don't know, protections or such. Management. Not to dismay or disdain the locations teams that we work with. But yeah, it's when you know better, walking around an abandoned place that's super dangerous to even be in the building, it's eye-opening in different ways.
The dangers among us.
So Gus, you were right, my friend. You were right.
Be careful now. Remember what happened to the last people who lived up here?
What?
No one knows.
They just disappeared.
So wait, was this whole floor a penthouse?
Is it the top floor?
The top floor.
Oh yeah, then definitely a penthouse. That's the definition of a penthouse.
Yeah, okay.
You have this one suite that's the top floor, and that is
Well,
the whole
then
floor.
Why is it so dirty and vacant? Like, why is it so ramshackle?
Because it's been 10 years, I guess. Everybody was too afraid to go up there once they disappeared. I mean,
I guess the building owners just like moved all their shit out.
in my mind, you're going to have had like an investigation of some kind if you feel like people just disappeared. But yeah, did they leave their stuff or did they just disappear with their stuff one day? Like,
yeah, who knows?
Just as quickly as they appeared with it, I guess that's possible.
All good, mysterious
We are
questions.
talking about some paranormal, supernatural interventions, but
That's true. This is the Twilight Zone. I mean, are you afraid of the dark?
super Twilight Zone.
Speaking of the cosmos. But Gus gives us our first indication that the 13th floor is supposed to be an especially eerie place, saying that this is all made the worse by the fact that it's the 13th floor specifically.
And he's right.
And the 13th floor on top of it makes me uneasy.
Makes me uneasy.
I wrote that down too. The way that he says it, like as the doors of the elevator close, makes me uneasy. Like it's very much a pause.
I love it. And Billy makes fun of his superstitious ways.
13th floor. Ooh, spooky.
But as we know well here at That's Pretty Dark, anything involving the number 13, especially the 13th floor of a building, is and never has been a laughing matter.
If they even allow for one.
Correct. And you better believe I'm going to tell you all about that.
We talked some about it on Friday the 13th.
We did. But first, some acting credits. Karen is played by Trish Lindstrom, and this is probably her best known credit. She only had a few others, and none that I recognized. But Billy is played by Aaron Ashmore, who returns as Jake in The Tale of the Lunar Locust in season 7. And he's had a great career. I know his face very well.
Yeah.
But this is from him playing Jimmy Olsen in 53 episodes of Smallville.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it. I didn't look it up because I knew you were going to tell me, but I was like, that's Jimmy, right?
It's Jimmy. And he also was in 19 episodes of Lock and Key as Duncan
Okay.
Locke.
He was rather familiar to me.
And Gus was played by Johnny Keyworth, who, if we remember from the Nightly Neighbors episode, he played the mailman.
I do remember that.
Yeah. With the big old patch on his neck.
They had to bring him back. He was so unsettling and creepy. They're like, do that again. The same thing.
Yes. I love his little like cameo parts for him. It's great.
Be wary of the spooky thing and action.
Be the ominous old cantankerous caretaker type and explain why things just don't seem right. But yes, the 13th floor superstition. This comes from the widely held belief that 13 itself is an unlucky number, which, as we've said, we talked about in our Hey Arnold episode, Friday the 13th from last October. So if you want a deeper dive into that specific history, please go
It's fascinating.
listen to all that
It's
stuff.
so interesting to me.
But as a brief recap, we learned that there were a number of unlucky historical events linked to the number 13, including the arrest of the Knights Templar and Judas Iscariot being the 13th member to arrive at the Last Supper. Plus, so many other eerie, fun things. And because of this association, many tall buildings will skip the 13th number and either go right from 12 to 14, or they'll present the floor as 12A or some other indicator such as the letter M, which is the 13th letter of the alphabet.
Have you seen that in life? Because I think I have.
I think I have, but I didn't understand why. But this doesn't eliminate the floor, only the acknowledgement of it.
Yeah, of course. It still exists.
Sometimes it's used for a special purpose, such as like a service floor or mechanical floor, or just for storage, which would restrict public access.
Still seems like bad luck, though.
It does. It really does. And there are good reasons for that. Not the least of which is our cognitive bias. But,
yeah. When you're expecting something bad to happen, you can often create self-fulfilling prophecies.
You might say that's the only kind of prophecy, but hey, I'm not a skeptic. I'm here to enjoy myself. Looking at you, Gary. And you may have touched on this before. In some Eastern countries, this is actually the 4th floor.
Yes.
Because the number 4 sounds like the word for death.
Yes.
And I could never find the example of what that word was, but just know 4 is an ominous number in certain countries.
13 isn't the ominous number everywhere.
Right.
Just
13's
most especially for us in the Western culture. It's not really the number 13 so much as the human spirit that's going to introduce doubt somehow.
This is true. And as we know, we talked about before, 13 is considered lucky in many different cultures. So who's to say? I think it's lucky. Taylor Swift says it's lucky.
Taylor Swift says it's lucky, and I tend to believe her.
So that's, I know that, so you can get off my back about Taylor Swift. But if 13 is, in fact, unlucky, then what exactly does that mean for the entire 13th floor of a building? It's generally believed a 13th floor is either haunted or it harbors some strange energy where bad things happen, which is a continuation of the cyclical belief that this floor is a place of misfortune or bad luck. In other words, it's an entire liminal space all on its own, veritably slicing buildings in half all over the world. And I think that's super fun.
Me too.
Of course, these types of stories didn't arise until the rise of the skyscraper in the 20th century. And I couldn't help but think of Rise of the Skywalker or whatever that movie is.
Yep.
Rise of the Skyscraper, the sequel. The very modern sequel.
Skyscraper of Doom.
In a land very, very near a brief time ago. Now, I know what you're all thinking. High-rise buildings existed before skyscrapers, but majority of them were either cathedrals or were used as office space. And even once categorical skyscrapers became more common in the early 1900s, the average person wasn't frequenting the interiors of these buildings and experiencing that manual elevator ride up to and beyond a 13th floor. The Otis Elevator Company, which has been around since 1853, has reported that 80 to 90% of the elevators it has installed over the years do not have a 13th floor button.
Wow, what a stat.
And that majority of these were residential.
Nobody wants to live on the 13th floor. They may visit
They may work
but
there.
they don't want to live there.
Which, that makes me think of how, I think the last time I was writing Tower of Terror, so that only has 12 floors, but there's a basement. And so the person who was like doing our tour, our moment, was like, but there is a basement making the 12th floor the 13th floor. And I was like, oh, yeah, nice. I get it.
Nicely done.
I get it.
I do appreciate those details. Any cast member that's going to go out of their way to like make it a little more immersive.
Yeah, no, that's super fun.
It's the best.
But the earliest residential and office buildings didn't even reach the 13th floor. So it wasn't something anybody had to think about until it existed. It was actually believed for decades that it would be unsafe for a building to exceed 40 meters or 130 feet, which would be anywhere from 10 to 12 stories, depending on the ceiling height. And this opinion was further spread by architectural critics who honestly just thought that tall buildings were eyesores and would ultimately lower property values. So they just perpetuated an urban myth
to just
about how dangerous it would be to exceed 12
eliminate
floors.
them from a skyline.
Right. They didn't want to have to look at them. They thought the shadows were ominous.
Batman's like, hell yeah, it is.
Or gargoyles. Don't get me started. But because of this, because the public believed that pushing 13 floors would be dangerous, that means that any architects designing buildings with 13 or more floors would have been pushing their luck, firmly establishing the 13th floor as the unlucky threshold to surpass. So I can completely understand why architects and building owners would want to hide any indication of a 13th floor, so as not to remind people of their own general distrust of buildings that were taller than 12 floors. Superstition or negative association.
Or practical fear of heights.
Right.
And falling to your death in an unsteady, unstable building.
I've been to the top of the Empire State Building, and it is terrifying.
Yeah, same.
I've done it twice, and I don't ever want to do it again.
Same. I've had that experience.
Those bars, those fences are
It's not enough. It
high
could
enough.
never be enough.
And all those statistics of people jumping off, like that just absolutely just makes me sick to my stomach. But I've been sick to my stomach for many reasons in recent days, so we're just gonna...
I'm always sick to my stomach, so welcome to the club.
Move past that. So, an article from the Dark Worlds Quarterly, which is a super kick-ass sci-fi, horror, and fantasy magazine that I found online, outlines the mystery of the deadly 13th floor explored through fiction.
Oh, I'm so ready.
The author of this article, G.W. Thomas, summarizes the first 3 fictional stories that he knows of that exist that depicted the public's fascination with the esoteric nature of the 13th floor.
The first story I found was The 13th Floor by Douglas M. Dold in Strange Tales, November 1931. A woman discovers her hotel does have a 13th floor, and this is where all the ghosts are doomed to stay for eternity.
The next one, he writes, The Tenant on the 13th Floor, from Fantastic Adventures, February 1942, by John York Cabot, which was apparently a pen name for David Wright O'Brien. This tale is a first-person narration from an elevator operator who keeps seeing a distinguished businessman between the 12th and 14th floor. Later, the man moves out, and the narrator learns he's been dead since the building opened.
Of course he has.
What's that episode of Friends with Joey? He's like,
Yeah.
he's been dead for 10 years.
That's what I had in my head. That's what I was thinking.
Such a classic motif. I mean, that's straight out of Alvin Schwartz.
What would the millennial mindscape be without Friends and The Office scenes just inserting themselves into conversation? What
Forever
even would it be?
populating the landscape, right? The mindscape, you said. God, they're like little skyscrapers.
Dotting the skyline of the millennial
Dotting the
mindscape.
skyline.
The more famous tale is Frank Gruber's The 13th Floor in Weird Tales, January 1949. A man named Richard Javelin goes to a giant department store called the Bonanza Store that claims to sell everything. If the Bonanza Store hasn't got it, it isn't. Javelin goes to the 13th floor where he meets a very attractive salesgirl, Miss Carmichael.
Every time.
They arrange to meet after her shift, but she doesn't show. When he goes looking for her, the elevator crashes, killing him. We learn from a newspaper article that Javelin used elevator 12, which had been out of service for 17 years after 3 people were killed in it, one of which was Elaine Carmichael. Ooh.
But seriously, though, is she single? Like, can I give her a call? Can I go visit her? There's so many numbers in this story.
Wow.
There's 13, 12, 17, 3.
Yeah.
A lot of numbers.
This means something. She meets him on the 13th floor. He uses elevator 12.
She's been dead for it's been out for 17 years.
Because she's
Or
been dead for 17
maybe she's been
years.
dead for 17.
Both things are true.
3 people were killed. 17 and 3 makes 20. 12 and 13 makes 25.
Now we sound like Taylor Swift conspiracy theorists, and I'm here for it.
But I did want to say that this last one feels a bit closer to an inspiration for this episode, if at all. So I wonder if DJ or any of the folks behind this episode were familiar with this particular story. With the whole Bonanza store, the toy factory, it just seems kind of parallel.
There's some parallel.
And the rest of this article shows panels from 13 different pulp and science fantasy comics, depicting eerie tales about the 13th floor in various buildings, many of which are buildings where the floor in question supposedly doesn't exist. Sometimes the comic is about bad luck and ill fate. Other times it's about meeting your own doom or discovering the doom of others. And his conclusion to this article sums things up pretty nicely. Sometimes the 13th floor is a place of ghosts. Sometimes it's a strange place, trapped in time and death. Sometimes it's a gateway to other worlds and realities. So like I said before, this is a liminal space, born only from superstition and the human predilection toward things like cognitive bias, sentiment, and apophenia, In other words, we give meaning to things that have no inherent meaning.
And that's what we're here to do.
Especially when it comes to luck and bad luck. We're definitely good at that. Apotropaic magic and the like. And I may be wrong, but if early skyscrapers had never skipped their 13th floors, there never would have been much mystery to it at all, and therefore would never have cast all the terrible shadows of wonder and fear in the mind of the collective unconscious about what might happen if we were to stumble upon the 13th floor in a building that has no 13th floor.
The whole thing altogether, and we touched on this, I think, in the Friday the 13th episode, does have that air of self-fulfilling prophecy, like you said, because
For sure.
if we hadn't acknowledged, or rather, if we had acknowledged it and just moved on past it, we might be at a point in our history where the number 13 isn't as feared. But I think part of why people do develop that triskaidekaphobia, or it does really get into some people's psyche, is because it feels like it's being acknowledged by society when it's omitted by society.
Right. It's like,
you know?
When a kid says a bad word, if you overreact to it, they learn that's a fun word to say because it gets a reaction. And then you just they end up saying it more and more.
It's internalized.
Right.
I think there's something to be said too about just the way that we feel as humans. Like, we're always going to feel kind of smaller and lesser than the greater human whole, humanity. And so we feel like if these architects and
these superior high-minded individuals,
if it's a whole city, it's a whole country, it's a whole the group think there's some sort of superiority,
these gods
that is telling me that
these titans of industry
acknowledge by not acknowledging this terror, then it must be true.
Right.
Even if you're not consciously thinking that way, all of us growing up in this society, growing up going into buildings that don't have a 13th floor, it finds its way to bury itself into our consciousness. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Hey Darklings, Kaylin here. We know our generation has a surplus of pretty darkness in common, and if there's one thing unpacking our upbringing has taught us, it's just how essential therapy is for shining a flashlight on the darkness in our own lives. I don't know where I'd be without mine. I believe every human can benefit from the perspective of a licensed therapist. Whether you're familiar with your own inner workings or you're just looking for a listening ear, you can give BetterHelp online therapy a try by going to betterhelp.com/prettydark and receive 10% off your first month. I get that online therapy can be tricky, but I've been seeing my therapist online since 2020, and I'm here to tell you that it's absolutely worth it. Getting started is always the hardest part, and BetterHelp makes that easy. You can begin right from your phone or computer in whatever way makes you most comfortable, via good old-fashioned phone calls, video chats, or even messaging, if that's more your style. We enjoy this frightful nostalgia and learning about how it all connects, but Darklings know we're also passionate about healing and growing from what we learn. If you dare to do the same, head to betterhelp.com/prettydark. There you can answer a few questions, and BetterHelp will match you to a professional who has years of experience helping people like us. Plus, you can switch therapists at any time, so you're sure to find the right connection. Millennials are ditching the stigma and owning our mental health. And with BetterHelp, you can build a relationship with a professional all from the comfort of your own home, just how we like it. Visit betterhelp.com/prettydark or choose That's Pretty Dark podcast during sign up and enjoy 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/prettydark.
Our intrepid adoptive siblings, Karen and Billy, live on the 12th floor, and they've always had a habit of using the 13th floor as their own private space, which is most typically a game of floor hockey. And Karen is admittedly very bad at hitting the ball, but
Poor
this
Karen.
she blames on her unathletic genes.
If I had your genes, I could do it.
What have my genes got to do with it?
Not your blue genes, Zipperhead, your biological genes.
It was a cute little exchange.
It was nice. It was nice.
Some clever dialogue. in
It
there.
felt almost like it was about to be like a PSA, like an after-school special on like genetics.
It kind of
It
did,
felt
yeah.
really forced.
Do
and
you know what
odd.
DNA stands for? Deoxyribonucleic acid. It makes up everything about us, from our head to our toes.
Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
And mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
See, speaking of genes here, Karen was adopted by Billy's family long enough ago that she's able to joke about it without much emotion at all, relatively. So we can assume that Billy's family must be good people, even if Billy is a total punk ass about being better at things than Karen.
What a brother.
It's a brother thing to do, but it also sounds like Billy's got some unresolved jealousy about his parents adopting another child. Like a comparison, like, I wasn't good enough for you.
I can see that.
But there's clearly love between them as we, discover.
Some pretty, complex emotional shit.
Yeah.
For Are You Afraid of the Dark?
That's Betty Ann.
Yeah, that's Betty Ann for you.
The first oddity of this 13th floor. The windows begin glowing, flashing with a bright purple light. A loud rumble overpowers the scene as all the loose debris of the abandoned floor begins to shiver and shake, and even fall to the floor, breaking. The kids try the elevator, which climbs the floors at such a rapid pace that sparks fly when the dial arrow lands on the number 13. It's a really nice touch, I thought.
I thought so too.
Going down.
Where's Gus?
And when the door opens,
was
there
called
stands Gus's replacement, a man with long, waxy hair,
Waxy. Hate that.
somewhat odd futuristic clothing, and impeccable bone structure.
I'm Leonid, the replacement elevator operator.
Leonid, like the meteor shower. As soon as he introduced himself, I was like, oh my God, perfect.
I have that note that, okay, hold on, let me just get to it, all right? let me say it.
I just got excited.
This domineering figure's name is Leonid, and he's played by Christopher Heyerdahl, who played the Nosferatu in Midnight Madness.
I knew his name.
And yes, Kaylin, in that episode, you said, doesn't Leonid mean something to do with space? Like outer space or something? As you said, this is the Leonid's meteor shower, which peaks during mid-November each year and is considered to be a major shower.
Major shower.
And I had to stop you. I'm going to let you finish.
Oh God.
But I wanted to send you this to read since you were so excited.
I get excitable when it comes to space stuff.
NASA.gov says,
Every 33 years or so, viewers on Earth may experience a Leonid storm that can peak with hundreds to thousands of meteors seen per hour, depending on the location of the observer. Viewers in 1966 experienced a spectacular Leonid storm. Thousands of meteors per minute fell through Earth's atmosphere during a 15-minute period. There were so many meteors seen that they appeared to fall like rain. The last Leonid meteor storm took place in 2002.
I like that they refer to them as storms. Like, I know it's like a meteor shower is like a thing you don't think much about, but when they say meteor storm. It feels like a fucking comic book. It feels like such a powerful force.
There is this cosmic
in
energy.
the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My parents were both born in 1966. Isn't that funny?
Are they aliens? Did they come?
I'm not saying that they're not.
Or are they the siblings of Superman?
Could be.
When he landed in that field.
It just feels awfully convenient. That's all I'm saying.
Cornfield out in Smallville.
That's all I'm saying.
On the outskirts of Metropolis. Where are they from? Have you seen their birth certificates?
I haven't.
Do you know for a fact? What's their DNA like?
We should get some testing done.
Do they shake but they've gotten those genes?
I know some people would say I am from outer space. So.
Oh man, more on that later.
Yeah, you're going to insult me later. It could be a compliment.
No, but
I'd like to see it as a compliment.
You can bring that back up if you want to. Just sibling stuff.
Right.
Well, enough about meteor storms. Karen is about to join Leonid on the elevator, but Billy stops her.
Come on, we'll walk.
So for all his adopted sibling rivalry, Billy's a pretty good brother.
Yeah, he's going to look out for her.
He doesn't trust his sister with a weird stranger, which we see again later.
Mm-hmm.
But that night is when things start to get real weird. And honestly, pretty spooky.
The planets, the mobile hanging above her with the planets. I was like,
yeah. And she has a bunch of like
this is good.
Space posters on her wall and stuff.
She's a space nerd too.
It's very good, very fun foreshadowing. And as she's trying to sleep, her TV clicks on by itself, showing only static at first, followed by the talking head of a very strange-looking person that we come to know as Raymond.
Hello, Karen. How are you? We've come for a little visit.
Dead eyes, just staring.
Just those dead alien robot eyes.
Did you ever have your TV click on in the middle of the night? The old tube TV, the sound of the static? Because I absolutely did.
Turned on by itself?
Mm-hmm.
No, I never had it turn on. I would hear it pop a lot when I was trying to fall asleep, and it scared me.
Yeah.
Later, when she's trying to turn the TV off and it won't turn off with the remote, I've had that nightmare.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Where there was something on my bedroom TV and I couldn't turn the TV off.
Yeah.
I had that nightmare.
What did you have on the last channel that you viewed? Because maybe that was some conscience creeping in.
Could have easily been this episode. So yeah, talking about nightmares, because logically, Karen thinks that she's dreaming. So the TV turns off and she falls right back to sleep. And the next day, the kids try the elevator again.
13, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, but the new tenants are fumigating today.
What new tenants?
That's our place.
Going down?
And this is the second oddity of the 13th floor. The new tenants arrive overnight, when just yesterday Gus had no idea there would be new tenants at all.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Gus. What's happened to him?
He's seen some shit.
Yeah, but where is he?
Changed him.
He's changed, man. He quit. He packed his bags. He took off running.
As soon as he saw the toy factory, he's like, you know what? I don't get paid enough for this shit. I'm done.
I'm out of here. I think I'll go be a mailman. Fulfill my dream of working for the postal service.
Going postal.
He went postal. That's such a good joke.
That is a great joke, and I didn't deliver it great.
We've
but
shown up today. We're here, guys.
It
We're
was like
making it.
adjacent to a joke, you know? Like it could have been a joke. If only I wasn't at my sister's house and out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, but have you ever looked into like the meaning behind the saying going postal?
I have, and I don't remember a thing about it.
It's pretty dark, y'all. Look it up. That's another research topic for another time. I wonder if we'll ever get to that. But this is about the time I started getting some pretty serious Something Wicked This Way Comes vibes. This is Ray Bradbury's novel, which features an evil carnival that pops up overnight and invites the town's children to come and play.
And you don't want to be on that list.
No, because they make you grow up way too fast. You age rapidly, and they strain your life force.
Maybe I was on that list.
And sometime later, perhaps later that same day, it's unclear, the kids return home from riding their bikes. And the reason this is unclear is because Karen says she's had another recurring dream, which she does mean to be the guy on the TV. So either they've been moving in now for like a few days, or Karen has been having this strange dream of Raymond for a while. Either way, freaks me out to know that Raymond could watch her sleep.
I know.
Like if she doesn't wake up, he could just
to me about it eventually. I was like,
be there
that's
watching
icky.
her, waiting for her to wake up.
Hey,
Like,
Edward Cullen.
yeah, seriously. Really makes you look at those books differently when you look at it from a pretty dark lens.
Hey, I was always of the opinion that Edward Cullen needed a restraining order.
Still does.
Still does.
To this day. But here Billy mentions another recurring dream that she's prone to have.
I had another recurring dream.
You mean the one where you're flying through outer space?
No, another.
A dream, Karen, or a memory?
Nice.
Billy checks the mail and finds a letter for Karen. She's been invited to the new toy factory. Where? The 13th floor. When? Anytime tomorrow. And here's the third oddity of the 13th floor.
What's a toy company doing in an apartment building?
That was my first question. Thank you, Billy.
Great question. And not just that, but it's a company that invites only one specific kid from the building to come try out their new toys and sports equipment.
This is a classic setup. We don't like it. Don't follow this invitation, Karen.
Don't accept. Do not RSVP. Check yes or no. Check no.
It seems too convenient because it is.
And so, jumping more time, Karen has another recurring dream that night. The one known as Raymond appears again.
Hello, Karen.
And try as Karen might turn off the TV, like we said, it just won't turn off.
We very much want you to come tomorrow.
Why?
Because you're a very special person. It wouldn't be the same without you. Say you'll come.
Okay, yeah.
And I've got to say it, this is predatory behavior 101.
Mm-hmm.
Grooming 101, what have you, 101. If you make someone, especially a child, feel both special and guilty at the same time, and then force them to make a decision, they'll more than likely do whatever you're asking of them.
Mm-hmm.
Ask me how I know.
Yeah. That is a haunting way to put it, and I couldn't agree more.
Special and guilty at the same time.
But it's this hypnotic way he's saying it. It's very even keel, very cult-like, if you will.
Yeah.
There's a
It's very culty.
strange softness to it, where if you are Karen, asleep in her bed in the middle of the night and not quite awake and not quite functioning and not quite cognitively online, you might just be like, yeah, okay, which is kind of what happens.
Very trippy.
Groovy.
Pretty far out. Nevertheless, Karen does change her mind and forces Billy to go with her to the toy factory.
Race you up the stairs?
He just can't help but beat her in a race up the stairs, where they open the door and find a completely different 13th floor. The walls are clean and colorful. There are sad-eyed robots with their Toy Factory logo on it. There's a conveyor belt showcasing all kinds of animals seemingly 3D printed in various color designs.
Yeah, kind of 3D printed.
It seemed that way, very plastic.
Oh, plastic. So plastic looking.
Also, peep the little rolling dice that glides across the floor.
I saw that guy. What was he doing?
And the shelf that appears to be floating midair.
There were also, by the way, ducks throughout, rubber duckies, ducks.
I saw a lot of ducks. What was that about?
I'm not sure, but I can say
Kush?
that it had strange
Kush?
serendipity to my life.
Oh, yeah?
I told you all that I'm at my sister's house today, and I watched this episode with them last night. I don't know the exact origin of it. Sorry, Carrie. She'll kill me if she hears that. But her husband calls her Ducky.
Yeah.
Their whole house is filled with rubber ducks. There's rubber ducks on the coffee bar. There's rubber ducks in just various places throughout their house. And as soon as they saw the ducks last night, as we were watching this, my sister was jumping up and she was like, there's ducks. Not only were there toy ducks throughout this toy company and rubber duckies everywhere, but there was also like a realistic looking duck toy, I guess, in Karen's room.
What a weird thing to be in your room full of space stuff.
Yeah, it's all space and there's a duck. And it must be, I want to know why. I really do. I want to know if it was something with the director or what the nod was, but why rubber duckies? Because as I was sitting watching last night, I was like, I'm supposed to be here watching this with you. This is so strange. I don't know why. It was very weird.
Well, you thought we had our fill of like space fowl from Courage.
Whoa.
But apparently it transcends networks.
Whoa. Mind blown. Yeah, that's wild. It does transcend networks, the fowl's affinity for space. When you look at a duck or a goose and you just see that look in their eye, just kind of a far off look, they're just dreaming of their time in space. It's
because they're all descendants of
dinosaurs,
like Tyrannosaurus rexes.
They've seen the meteor showers up close and personal.
They've seen the Leonid. All right.
What a weird tie, though. Seriously. Y'all, that's weird, right, Darklings? Y'all are still with us, right? Y'all here? That was weird.
I think it's pretty weird.
Hello, I'm Olga, and you must be Karen.
Yeah.
Around the corner in this toy factory comes Olga, wearing a very 60s bob hairstyle and another very strange future formal outfit.
Future formal. I like that.
You like that?
That whole aesthetic, I really liked it because it was kind of like, you said 60s. It's got this just retro air, but it's retro future. It's kind of like Tomorrowland and Disney World when I worked there and early on.
For sure.
It's what the 70s thought the future would look like. This is
the
like,
same thing, but like 90s, but also referencing the nostalgia.
Exactly.
At the
It's
same
got the
time.
Star Trek air. It's got Xenon. I was thinking Xenon all the way through because that Xenon aesthetic is one of my absolute favorites because that is the early 2000s.
Okay, yeah.
Futuristic space look. And so it's just like shimmery everything, glittery and like ethereal.
Mm-hmm.
This was muted because it's 90s. So it was that muted future look, like pastels and like
right.
It's fascinating to me. It goes back to what we were talking about last time with the 30-year cycle and pop culture and fashion and how everything mimics everying else.
Very cyclical, very interesting. Yeah.
I did like it. I thought it was fun.
Do we think aliens voluntarily wear pantyhose and high heels? Or is she just trying to fit in?
She's definitely just trying to fit in. No one voluntarily wears.
So it's their
pantyhose
take
and high
on
heels.
American fashion.
This is what a modern 90s businesswoman looks like.
That makes sense. Olga was played by Susan Glover, who returns as the parasol lady in The Tale of Train Magic. She had a great career and a ton of credits, including 36 episodes of The Busy World of Richard Scarry, 21 episodes of Country Mouse and City Mouse, 19 episodes of Arthur. She also did 78 episodes of Radioactive, 2 words, 52 of What's with Andy, 17 of Rotten Ralph. And she's also one of those actors who lent her voice to a bunch of different shows and video game franchises, specifically Assassin's Creed more than anything else.
Wow.
A ton of Assassin's Creed.
This is my brother, Billy.
I see. Nice of you to bring Karen here, Billy. We won't be needing you.
Wait, he's with me.
But we only need one test subject.
And Olga immediately tries to send Billy home, while quickly ushering Karen further into this mysterious toy factory, alone. And this is the second time I'm proud of Billy for not letting her go in alone with these strangers.
Yeah, this is a bad idea. This is the epitome of a bad idea.
She's my sister. When I leave, she leaves with me.
Very well. This way, please.
And this is about the time that this whole episode started feeling to me like a sci-fi retelling of Hansel and Gretel.
Yes.
Like if the witch was really just an alien trying to lure home her long-lost daughter.
Totally. Wow.
And I'm going to write a version of that where that is the case.
Dude. TM. Krishamot. TM.
CM.
CM.
And the kids are walked back to the game room, which is just as colorful and liminal as everywhere else.
This is Raymond, our technician. He will explain everything to you.
Hello.
And here's where we finally meet Raymond in the flesh.
Yep.
If you can call it that.
Icky.
Raymond is played by Pierre LeBlanc, who returns as Jeff's dad in the tale of the unexpected visitor. He played reporters in both The Day After Tomorrow and X-Men Days of Future Past.
Nice. He has experience being on the TV, within the TV.
For sure.
TVception is his specialty.
And I didn't recognize any of his other many credits, but it looks like he's done a ton of French-Canadian television.
Both children?
Yes, both children.
It is so unsettling because there's that same vibe of like a test facility or like a laboratory.
It's like a lab.
Very much like Stranger Things 11, decades before.
Oh, yeah.
And yet,
this is
after.
Very 80s and 90s.
I was going to say, and yet after, because Stranger Things was 80s, but
yeah,
all of the above.
Raymond shows the kids to the first game, which features a row of buttons that each make a different musical note. He will play a sequence of notes, and the first one to match the sequence wins.
Simon.
Then, without any practice whatsoever, they're forced to play the first round.
This also weirdly reminds me of something that I read pretty recently, and that is that if you play Tetris after a traumatic event, your brain is less likely to develop PTSD or like to harbor those negative feelings and traumas, because Tetris does something in a different area of your brain and it forces you to like not encode in the same way. And it kind of reminded me of that.
So what you're saying is I should spend the rest of my day.
You should play Tetris today.
The rest of my week.
Yeah.
The rest of my month.
Yeah, same.
Tetris.
I think that if we all incorporate a little more Tetris into our lives, we might be a little bit less affected by the goings on that are no good.
It's like low stakes podcast editing.
Yeah, like that. Low stakes. You're just
I've always thought of editing
bricks in
as
the
like
right places,
a game of Tetris.
And that's all you. I think of everything as a game of Tetris. With ADHD, I call it time Tetris because I live my life in time Tetris, where I'm trying to fit things in. It shouldn't be as hard as it is, but because I have ADHD, it's difficult for me. So I call it time Tetris. So I'm always playing that kind of Tetris, but I think this article was talking about the actual, the actual game.
I'm always losing that kind of Tetris, personally.
Yeah.
Piece of cake.
Well, naturally, Billy wins the first round.
Because he's so good at everything.
After which, Raymond twists a large industrial handle that turns on a set of red lights. The kids play another round and Billy wins again. Another turn of the handle, and Billy isn't doing so hot. He appears faint and disoriented, and this time Karen wins. Surprise, surprise. But another turn, and Billy Boy can't hang.
Wait, I'll get it.
Are you okay?
Yeah. I'm fine. I can do this.
It also doesn't sound quite like they're mimicking the tones.
Not at all.
Not even close.
I don't know what that is.
You could have made it sound like that. That was within your
Sound
budget.
editing
That was within
or
your...
the editor.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
It could have happened. I mean, I don't know why it wasn't more like Simon. Because that was the way that they acted. Those seemed to be the rules. But if you actually listen to what they're pressing, not even close.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was just them like trying to play over each other and it was getting all jumbled in my ears.
Okay, maybe.
But it still didn't seem like they were playing the right notes.
It still seemed off to me.
But we come to learn that the reason Billy is, doing so poorly is because each turn of this handle shifts the atmospheric pressure in the room to more closely match the atmosphere of their home planet, because these are aliens. Each turn proves that Karen can live there, because, spoiler, Karen doesn't know it, but she's also an alien. I think we all know that at this point.
I really started to feel that like pit of fear and dread in my stomach as Billy started to fade, as his fading corresponded with this wheel turning, and they're clearly like kind of sucking some type of life force from him.
Right.
I started
withholding what he needs to survive.
Yeah. I was really uncomfortable about that whole thing. I was like, this doesn't feel good at all.
No.
it's very scary, and it's something out of his control, you know, like he doesn't know what's happening, he can't fix it, and it's just being taken from him.
I'm sure that stems from like your health anxiety.
I think 100% it does, yeah.
Stuff.
When this is happening to him and he can't fix it.
But this kind of thing also explains why Karen isn't super coordinated on Earth, because it's not her natural habitat. And the atmospheric pressure here keeps her from achieving her greatest potential, because it's too strong. But on their home planet, Billy ain't so good at floor hockey. I mean, this is just a simulation of that, but he can't even sit up straight. So really, who's the better sibling?
That's what I was going to say. It really...
She can handle both.
It just goes to show that if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, you're gonna think that it's stupid. Like,
what an analogy.
You know, it's a thing. Pretty sure that's an actual thing people say. Like, you can't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. Like,
yeah, okay.
They're just in different environments, and certain people, certain creatures do better.
I don't judge trees' ability to swim through rivers, but
that's what I'm saying.
You know,
and you shouldn't.
A lot of logging.
And you shouldn't.
Do you count logs?
No.
Like down the river, people send the logs down the river.
Nope.
Because trees are swimming. Are trees better than fish?
No.
Which provides more nutrients in life source for humans? Is it trees or fish?
Yikes.
Throughout history, what do you think?
Throughout history, definitely trees. Oxygen.
We can live without fish. We can't live without trees. So
oxygen, shelter.
Hey, you know what? Tree beats fish.
We ask the real hard-hitting existential questions here.
Trees beat fish. I like it.
Paper beats rock, and scissors beat paper.
Gorilla beats the man beats the gun beats gorilla. If you tie, you die. Anybody know that? Get back to me.
Whoa.
All right, moving on.
Whoa.
That's a deep cut.
That is a deep cut.
That's a youth group deep cut. Baptist Church Youth Ministry. D now weakens.
D now.
Disciple now. Now, to separate the children, Raymond instructs Billy to keep at it until he gets it right, while shifting the atmosphere once more. And this allows Raymond to move Karen on to the next task without Billy noticing. While this occurs, in another room, Leonid arrives on the elevator and speaks with Olga about whether or not Karen will be ready in time.
Will she be ready?
Yes, but the boy is with her.
Unfortunate. We don't have much time. We must leave by 6.
Okay.
It's a very specific time.
Arbitrary.
Gotta be home by dinner.
Yep. Gotta get home before the streetlights come on.
Call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late for dinner. The analog clock on the wall that kids today wouldn't even be able to read.
Possibly not.
Apparently, because they're removing them from schools.
Whoa, really?
Apparently. I don't know.
Wow.
I heard it. Who knows what's real anymore? It's the news. This analog clock says it's about 6 minutes after 5, if I can read it correctly.
Debatable.
Not good with numbers.
Me neither.
I'm numbers dyslexic for sure. But it seems odd that the kids didn't go earlier than 5 p.m.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Like, why didn't they go at like 11 in the morning?
Right.
Like, why didn't they go
Are they supposed to be in
lunch?
school? Are they in school? Do we know?
I take it as summertime.
I thought it was summertime
They
too.
do
I
wear
just
big clothes.
assumed
So maybe it's winter break or something. I have no idea.
Delinquents.
Yeah, I guess it could be after school.
It could be after school. That could be the reason it was so late.
So Raymond locks Karen into a chair and explains that her next task will simulate parts of her brain she's never used before. She will reach her full mental and physical power soon because she's going to pull a full Neo in the Matrix and bend the spoon. I mean, lift the yellow ball using only her mind.
Close your eyes. Let your thoughts surround the ball. Hold it in your mind.
Is it Michelle Branch or Vanessa Carlton? They think I'm paranormal. Watch me bend their spoon or something like that. That's a lyric.
Yeah, it's a good reference, yeah. And Karen is successful. And when she thinks it's just a trick, he instructs her to do whatever she wants with it. You know, don't tell me, just do it. See for yourself. So she puts the ball through the basketball hoop using only her mind. And this is when everything changes all at once and very quickly.
Stimulating parts of her brain that she's never used before. It
seems
like something
It just
else.
seems icky.
It does.
Seems icky to me.
Sounds like something else to me.
And this is when Karen becomes aware for the first time of Billy's struggles, but really only because he's too spaced out to even notice that she's actively performing telekinesis.
Yeah. I feel like if my sister started moving things with her mind, no matter,
I would notice.
Regardless of my physical state, I would notice.
I would notice.
I think I would know. Okay, 11.
And this is also the time Raymond chooses to inform her of their ulterior motives.
We have a surprise for you. We're going on a trip.
In their favorite rocket ship.
This moment makes my stomach turn. Like, can you even imagine?
Mm-mm.
You, knowing better, went up to this secret floor with these creepy strangers who incapacitate your brother and get you alone and tell you, we're going to take you away now. We're going somewhere. We're leaving here. We're going to go very, very far away.
I'm coming to take you away. Ha ha. Ho ho. He he.
It makes me feel
It's awful.
a little queasy.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Is that just because I already feel queasy?
No. I think this
in
is
my life right now.
I think this is at least in part due to the episode.
I know. Sign me up. I'm the first one on that spaceship. Take me out of here. Like, let's go to a different
Beam
planet.
me up, Scotty.
Let's get out of here. It's got to be a better place than here.
Down bad.
It's just got to be.
Crying at the gym.
Woo.
I would like to use as many intergalactic references as possible today.
This is the episode to do it.
Doing my damnedest, but I'm sure we'll see aliens again someday.
There's one thing that's a staple of the 90s. It's aliens for sure.
Yes.
And this is when Raymond explains about the, atmospheric pressure that he's simulating to ensure that Karen will be able to survive once they arrive at their destination. And that just as soon as she's ready, they'll transfer her to the ship.
Acclimatizing her.
Oh, and then Raymond peels his own face off.
That's important. We definitely have to talk about that because I'm sure Darklings out there are just yelling about, are you going to talk about how he takes his face off?
Get to the point!
Hurry up. Yeah, we screamed. Me and my sister, we were yelling, not because we were afraid, but because we remembered it. We were like, whoa, hey.
There it is.
There it is.
Turns out Raymond has just been wearing a mask the entire time.
Aren't we all?
So many. Underneath, Raymond is a pale white reptilian-like thing with no discernible features. No eyes or nose or mouth. No ears.
Oh my.
What big white empty void you have, Grandma.
All the better to scare you with.
Just all the better to make you shit your pants, my dear. You just got a pasty white complexion. And I say white.
I look like this fairly often. That's why they call it putting your face on, I'm not wearing any makeup today. You can clearly tell
And
my
you look
resemblance.
great. You don't look anything like that, I have to say.
To these monsters.
To be fair, you look nothing like the pasty white reptilian face.
High compliment.
And I say white.
High compliment.
But what I really mean is something like gauze.
Oh, yeah.
On an oozing wound.
Oh, my God.
That's giving the fabric a cloudy yellowed look.
Yuck.
Somewhere along those lines.
Somewhere in that range. 100%.
Could be like a
That makes it so much more icky.
off-white cake batter as well. Paper mache.
Paper mache.
There's a lot of things
shit.
this looks like.
It's paper mache.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining a paper mache face now, as a creature.
That'd be pretty scary. Halloween costume idea, y'all. Go for it.
This would be a pretty good Halloween costume. They got those morph suits, the Party City.
They sure do. And in this horrifying moment, Raymond switches another lever that opens a door in the ceiling, presumably to the roof of the building. The chair that Karen is locked into begins ascending toward the open ceiling door, where a number of other yellowed, gauzy white reptilians await her, beckoning her up with their blank faces and their thick, three-fingered hands. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
I mean, it's just, I remember that shot of them in the ceiling.
Yes.
Just
that stuck
absolutely
with
terrifying me.
Just as much as the face coming off was that ceiling image.
It scared me so much how badly they wanted to
bottom
touch her.
of the ship.
Yeah, I guess it would be a hole up into the ship on the roof.
It's definitely, they're abducting her into the ship via this spooky intergalactic fair ride. And I swear I had memories of some type of fair ride like that, just repressed memories coming right back to me as she was lifted up in the chair.
Something wicked this way comes. Evil carnival rides. Maybe we all did ride that ride.
And we all know that DJ has an affinity for
sure does.
Evil carnivals and carnival rides.
Sure does. Wow. Connecting these dots like constellations in the sky.
Ooh, nice.
And after screaming through an entire commercial break, Karen remembers that she now has telekinetic powers.
Teach a girl to fish. Or telepath.
Or to climb a tree using a fish.
Or to climb a tree with a fish.
She uses her powers to reverse the switch, close the ceiling door, and release herself from the chair. She also manages to short-circuit Raymond in the process, which we soon learn is just a robot, as I've been saying.
Whatever you did to me, buddy. Thanks.
Thanks for activating my powers. Thank you for that. I would be grateful as well if somebody just bestowed upon me some telekinesis that I didn't know I had.
Yeah, it's good character development for sure.
And she is, she's growing. It's that coming of age thing. I know we're going to talk about it. It's very much coming into your own, recognizing your own inner power.
Okay, so now begins a rather long sequence where Karen continually tries to run for help, but never manages to escape.
Feels like a dream, because that's how dreams are.
Feels
You're
like a
always
dream.
going to try to get help. You're going to get help, and you just can't quite get there.
Also kind of feels like they're killing time.
Padding the episode.
So I can't get into every sequence, where her attempts are thwarted while she's realizing the full potential of her telekinetic powers.
Nice.
But it's important to point out that when Olga switches Raymond back on using a remote control, he reads off a status update.
Atmosphere at 0.07 and falling. Boy will not survive. Girl reach medium power at 0.9.
Captain's log. Boy will not survive. Ugh.
Boy will not survive. It's hard to know exactly what they're measuring, but assuming they're measuring pounds per square inch, Earth's atmospheric pressure at sea level is roughly 14.7 psi. Even at the peak of Mount Everest, I think it dropped to only like 9 psi. So they're like reaching thermosphere, exosphere levels of like decreased atmosphere.
Wow.
So
yeah, talk atmosphere to me.
That's all I've got. But I mean, is Billy experiencing some like insane level
it's
of
as
altitude
if he
sickness?
is lifted above, the atmosphere. It's exactly like altitude sickness.
It's like his cells are expanding or something because of the lack of pressure. It's like he's going to go into some like cardiac arrest or something crazy. His organs are going to start failing if it gets much worse.
And of course, in the midst of all this, she has to hide in an air duct because there's always an air duct.
What is this, Batman Arkham Asylum?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
There's never not an air duct. This could also just as easily be Mary-Kate and Ashley's Winning London. Like, there's always got to be an air duct to hide in.
There's a badger loose in the building. It's in the air ducts.
He does like a "Here's Johnny" too, and sticks his head in the air duct after her. Yeah,
he totally does.
That was a reference. You can't convince me otherwise.
It's gotta be.
And they say something like, as Billy is like fading, disappearing from this mortal plane, they say something like, Earth children are poor specimens.
Yeah, such poor specimens, these Earth children.
And we kind of are, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, Olga takes a moment there to sympathize with this unconscious Billy, like, oh, what a loss. That's sad. So many articles and blogs online want to sympathize with the plight of this alien family and Karen.
Wow.
Because they're only doing all this to get their daughter
get their family back together.
But at what cost?
You can't go around killing kids just because you want your family to stay together. This is a life principle.
The sanctity of life. Aliens understand the sanctity of life, even if humans don't. They have to. Somebody has to.
Somebody has to. We do. Right, Darklings?
And not only did they neglectfully leave Karen behind the first time, but now they're willing to sacrifice an Earth child for the sake of their little atmospheric pressure simulation, which Karen has already passed, by the way. And like, why can't they turn it off?
Because they don't want to deal with Billy. They don't want him to
send
interfere.
him home.
They
like,
don't want
drop him outside. He's not conscious.
I agree. They could have done so many things.
He doesn't have to die. It's
he doesn't.
It's not even collateral damage. It's what's the word for like totally unnecessary, unjust, innocent murder. Murder of the innocent.
Loss of innocent life for no reason. Yeah,
it's just ridiculous.
And you make a good point. She's already passed the test, but I think it's more than just a test. It's a test, but it's also, but they're trying to get her acclimated to the atmospheric pressure of their home planet. So
that's true.
But they still could have gotten rid of Billy. They could have kicked him out. They could have had him escorted out.
I think
They've got all these robots at their disposal.
I think so. I think they could have walked him back downstairs, tucked him into bed, and said, wake up tomorrow. It was all just a dream.
Hypnotize him, just like they hypnotized her or whatever.
That's true.
Put him back in bed with the TV on. You never had a sister. What sister?
Oh, God. It's so dark. It's so dark. Jesus. But thank the heavens above that Karen thinks to drop the atmospheric pressure herself. I'm just surprised it took her that long to remember to do that.
Same.
But she also steals Olga's remote control in the process and manages to freeze Raymond again. And she soon learns that she can activate a verbal command option, which she uses to force Raymond to pick Olga up and hold her into place, allowing the two to nearly escape. That is, until they run into Leonid one last time. They've done this twice, But in the whole running around, I skipped the first time.
So there's that moment when she goes to the elevator and Leonid emerges from the elevator, I guess. And this is what stuck with me as a kid. Like, I remember thinking about this scene. It plays in and it mixes in with all of my mother's warnings about stranger danger and promises of a stranger and how you can't trust this, and how even if they know what you want or what you like, or they know our names or they know things about you, you can't always trust them, or really rarely ever. And I think it just all kind of melded together in my kid brain, because he's saying, like, come with us and you'll find happiness.
I know, God.
And it's like, don't go to the van where they say there are puppies. Don't go to the van. Like, because I think I've said on the show before, like, it wasn't candy that was going to, like, puppies, lure me. It was puppies or, like, animals of some kind.
They're definitely offering her, like, something that she feels like she's missing, like lacking.
Right.
They're
because
definitely
she
saying,
has
like,
this void in her life, and they've
you don't feel complete.
That.
We know that.
We know that you don't. We know why you don't.
Fix that.
Exactly. And we're going to help you.
Let us show you what you've been missing.
Strangely, I'm sure we will have much to say about this, but strangely, it's true in this case, because she is of their ilk, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So there's something extra eerie about it, because in this case, it's kind of valid.
Yeah, it's not. It's true. Like, it's not.
I don't love how they're going about it.
I know. It's so unnecessary. But, you know, aliens, man, different place, different culture.
Yeah. What are you going to
do? What are you going to do? But the second time that they meet him is that final time. And he beseeches her to come with them one last time.
It's time. Let's go.
No way.
You must trust me, Karen. Back there, it's beautiful. You can fly like a bird. You can see through to other worlds.
What about
Don't go to the light.
Run away from
the light.
But strong-willed and strong-minded Karen pushes past Leonid and takes Billy home. The hour of departure is upon them, so there's no more time for these aliens to waste trying to convince Karen to come with them. They're running out of atmosphere, we come to learn, and must leave before they themselves die, I guess. But not before one last disturbing shot of Raymond's face floating along the smoking conveyor belt, alongside the colorful toys, those 3D printed rubber duckies. And Karen helps Billy back into her bedroom, where they watch through the window as the spaceship flies away into the night sky in all its purple glory. And Karen's TV lights up one more time with that static. Only this time it's Olga's talking head. She gives Karen all the exposition we've been missing the entire time. This whole ordeal was an attempt at Karen's rescue. They left her here by mistake 10 years ago, and it'll be another 10 years before they can return for her. Very Watcher in the Woods.
It reminds me, like you were talking about we discussed the meteor showers earlier, like it comes back every so often. Like it's a cosmic phenomenon that's just going to recur. And it's not, you know, there is rhyme and reason to it, but we don't necessarily understand it. So I did like that element. Yeah. It wasn't fleshed out, but I liked the kind of thought behind it.
It makes just enough sense that, like, it's that fridge logic thing.
Yeah.
You don't question it. You might think about it later and go, that didn't really add up, but I didn't catch it at the time.
Right.
So, I mean, like, kids are never going to think about that. They're just going to go, oh, every 10 years. Wow, she has to wait 10 years?
Yeah, because
that's the
mindset we're in. We can't wait till Christmas, and you're telling me she's got to wait 10 years?
I mean, God.
Really captains my Kirk.
It was just very neatly wrapped up all in a bow right there at the end. Like, oh, by the way, you're an alien, and
you're an alien, and we're aliens, and you are our alien, and see you in 10 years.
No, we're not trying to kidnap you.
We're trying to take you home.
We're trying to rescue you, take you home,
Maybe
where you belong.
Now this prayer, the last one of its kind. Won't you please come get your baby? Maybe. It's from Annie, if you don't know, you know, in the orphanage when she sings about being adopted. Just for anybody that's unaware, this does have a point, and it is closely related.
I'll allow it. But Billy is understandably confused.
What you talking about? Is this a joke or what?
And in the most nightmarish shots of the episode, in my opinion, young Christian's opinion,
Kaylin's too,
Billy looks over in abject horror to see that his adopted sister's head has now changed into the same pasty, expressionless void as the others we've seen before, proving once and for all that she is in fact an alien from another planet.
And this story really has two It's two horror stories from two perspectives. It's Karen's story of finding out that the alien was within her the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also Billy's story of finding out that the sister that he loved and trusted
Yeah.
was never who he thought she was.
That is the conflict between Betty Ann's point.
I really appreciate
I
it.
really want to break down and
Okay.
kind of get
Yes,
into.
need to. Because it was never a dream, they say. It was your rescue. That logic, that idea kind of, there's something about that gets to me.
Mhm.
Because it's like there are truths that we know in our like souls, if you want to say it like that. Like there are truths that we know.
Right.
And some things just kind of transcend all of that other stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's like,
And we
it's
all
like,
have them.
It's just learning something about yourself that changes your whole
It
concept
wasn't
of who you are.
necessarily a dream. It wasn't necessarily this like ethereal, abstract thing in your life. It was real all along, kind of thing.
And it is funny that they played up the whole nightmare dream possibility because that was actually a big component of many of the comics that talked about the 13th floor of buildings. Like sometimes they would wake up wondering if it was a dream, their experience on the 13th floor.
Sleeping and waking. I mean, I think we've said Little
Nemo
Nemo
in Slumberland.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think we've said Little Nemo in almost every episode since we covered it, because that dreaming and waking, the line between dreaming and waking is where so much of like our human fears and hopes live. All of it together right there.
Our experience wouldn't be the same if we didn't have that.
No. I was thinking
like,
about it yesterday as I was
threshold.
driving. I was driving up to Atlanta and I was just thinking about like dreaming and how necessary it actually is for the human brain. Even if we don't always remember our dreams or we're not good at remembering them, like evolutionarily speaking, we evolved that trait because we need it to be able to cope with life.
I love to dream. I even like really bad dreams.
Me too, because it's
I like nightmares.
I'm okay with them. I mean, it
didn't
depends. There are times
growing up.
There are nightmares that I would say I would trade
Well,
in.
that's true. Some I have. I really
Some I would wish I had not had, but I do
they bother me. But
understand and appreciate where you're coming from on that, because it's imagination at the heart of it, and it's subconscious imagination.
I wake up and go, oh, I do still have it. I am creative.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a creativity. It's a connection to our creativity.
It's the third eye.
It's the third eye.
Can't close the third eye, man. You dig?
You dig?
Groovy.
I was going to say you dig before you did.
Dig it up.
Oh.
So Betty Ann's voiceover carries us back to the Midnight Society.
You may think you know someone, but think again and look a little closer.
And having bought in completely to the story, Gary douses the fire with a reverent.
I declare this meeting of the Midnight Society closed. Whoever you are.
They were all like kind of shell-shocked at the end of this one. They don't always do that. Typically they're cutting up or they're like, haha, good story, good going. Like they just kind of have that jovialness. This one, they were all like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like something was rocked.
She really, she did it to him this time. She did it to all of us.
She did.
This time. That last frame of Karen sitting there with
her new
gauzy face.
Final form.
Her paper mache head.
Blech.
That stuck with me for a very long time.
Yeah.
And before I get to my conclusion that I've been unnecessarily teasing this entire time.
Y'all like it? The teasing?
Let's get into the moment you've all been waiting for. The Scareometer.
Scareometer.
Scareometer. I have to say, because of that last shot of Karen, with the whole people wearing masks, they don't look like you think they look, and inside there's something very different. Gave it a 7 out of 10.
Ooh, okay. I actually gave it a 7 also.
Wow, all right. Not a 7.5.
Not a 7.5.
Not a 6.8.
Just a clean, cool 7.
Clean 7.
I think
I love a clean 7.
Part of that is because this one does a really good job of melding the mental, psychological horror and some disturbing things that really do stick around.
Yeah, it is a real life traumatic experience that's like, I don't know, explored nicely through this paranormal, supernatural, narrative.
And as my brother-in-law said, it feels like a fever dream, start to finish.
Yeah.
There's nothing about this that really feels grounded in reality except for their emotional connection.
Right.
That's the only thing really tying us to Earth. We don't go outside. We don't touch grass at all. It's very boxed in,
It is very enclosed, yeah.
The whole thing feels very enclosed.
No other residents, no parents. I mean, that's pretty common, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no other residents.
No adult supervision, just the creepy adults seemingly preying
All
on
of the
these
adults in the
teenagers.
episode that we see are creepy. There is no comforting adult figure until the end when you find, okay, they're her relatives. Like,
yeah,
but it's still not comforting. It's still strange.
Yeah, it's just off. Yeah, but I think there's many, many good reasons for that, and it comes from Betty Ann, her conflicted approach to this story. It's very complex.
I mean, the fear of not knowing yourself, the fear of not knowing those closest to you, but especially the fear of not knowing yourself is a very like coming of age, teenage thing to fear.
Right.
Very much so. Who am I? What am I becoming? Who am I really?
Right. That's at the core of it, essentially.
The core of it is that fear that we all have of like, I'm changing into something I don't recognize. In
one of the articles I read, the writer said that the basis for this episode is that feeling some kids get that their sibling is from another planet, which I tried to look into like as a phenomenon, but nothing really turned up.
It's so funny to have a sibling episode, like a sibling heavy episode too, when I'm here with my sister. Even as we speak, I'm here with my sister, and we both have had that thought about each other many times throughout our lives that we somehow couldn't possibly be related. We're so different.
Yeah, I get it.
And then in this case, it's like there were a couple pieces of media in this era that explored this concept. There was Stepsister from Planet Weird.
Okay.
Stepsister, but still. There was something else. It was The Other Me, maybe. There was definitely a sibling.
I think it was pretty common, yeah.
I'm trying to think. There was a sibling tie-in with alien encounters. Like, this is a common 90s and early 2000s trope.
That's why I was surprised I couldn't find much more research on it as a thing that exists. But we just know that it's happened. And it was in our media growing up. I personally think of this as more of a quaint domestic phenomenon, chocked full of silly sibling sociology. But this concept carries a lot more weight when the sibling in question was adopted at a young age.
Right.
Because for all intents and purposes, the sibling seems like part of the family, but biologically, they couldn't be more different. So they've embodied your traits, your habits, your language maybe.
The nurture part is the same. As it can be.
But the nature is,
But the nature is very different.
Very different.
I'm thinking of old Deborah Morgan and how she had to live a life with Dexter, her adopted sibling.
Oh.
Who also could not have been more different from her.
Never seen it. But yeah, I get that.
You got to watch Dexter. You should watch Dexter.
You told me that.
It's a lot of seasons, and it's...
maybe I will.
It's it has the timeliness of that time frame. It's not from the 90s, but it's just older, and it feels older now.
But with this whole nature versus nurture thing and the adoptive sibling, I think there's a lot to consider here with this phenomenon, especially when we ask ourselves whether Betty Ann herself might not be adopted into her family.
That's an interesting thought.
That's what I think. I've felt from the very beginning that Betty Ann's enthusiasm shines through around the campfire because she feels more at home here in the Midnight Society than at her own home. I think a lot of these kids do, but
I think so too.
Her especially. It's a ragtag group of super interesting weirdos and outcasts, but here she finally has a place where she doesn't have to pretend to feel or be normal. This is where she can be her true self. It likely helps her feel much more capable of navigating the compounded identity crisis of being an adopted child trying to survive now her teenage years. Like you said, all the changes, that coming of age, that in and of itself makes you feel
hard for everybody.
Like an alien. Right.
When you add in not really knowing maybe where you came from as well as you would like to.
Right. This is the time where you start to gain enough agency and you learn enough about yourself, that you begin to wonder about your birth family, maybe even because you begin to notice all the differences between you and your adopted family, comparing genetics or habits or whatever. You begin to not...
It's on the milk carton.
Exactly. You begin to not look so much like them and you just kind of go, even if you're aware of it, you're just kind of like, this is weirder than it used to be.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And, all speculation, I wasn't adopted. So if you identify with this or resonate, feel free to write in and let us know if any of this is true at all.
But any perspective from that side is appreciated.
I just think it makes sense that, Betty Ann might tell a story from this perspective because this is her perspective.
No matter how much your sisters thought you came from a different planet.
I was the only boy.
Can't deny you're a Mott, though. Y'all all look the same.
No, we look exactly the same. Our family vacation photos when we're all younger.
Can't even tell each other apart.
My sister called us the glasses family. We all had glasses.
The triplets.
And it was before like the reflective lenses or whatever with lights. So you could you see the flash of look like aliens.
I'm just imagining like a family of raccoons and their eyes in the trees.
Oh, yeah, that's us. Yep. The Mott family vacations. They are legendary. Driving across the country because we're too afraid to fly. So, yes, maybe this story is a healthy expression of Betty Ann's own complicated feelings about feeling extremely out of place in this world, in her own world. So what was it that Betty Ann said at the beginning that I had beef with? This story is about strangers among us. And that was her conclusion. That was her tie-in at the end. That is Billy's story.
Right.
This is not Billy's story. This is Karen's story.
This was Karen's story.
So I say nay. I say it's an eloquent expression of feeling like a stranger yourself among others.
In your own body sometimes.
In your own skin.
And I have my own reasons to relate to that with health issues, and I know I'm not alone in that. Sometimes we do feel like strangers in our own bodies. And that is the most, like, it's the closest that you can get to yourself, and it's still not feeling like yourself. There's almost nothing more unsettling than that.
Yeah, I deeply resonate with that as well, that feeling. I've always felt out of place in my life.
Me too.
And still do to this day, to an extent. You know, that's honestly why I've always loved Tim Burton, with his constant expressions of feeling like a misunderstood monster. Shocking we haven't covered a Tim Burton film yet, but I know it's coming.
You've wanted to. It's just got to be the right time.
It has to be the right time.
I'm going to let you do it.
Thank you. But I'm willing to bet Betty Ann enjoys herself some Tim Burton.
I'm sure.
As well. But the interesting thing, I think, about Karen speaking with Leonid at the end is he almost convinces her a couple times to go with them. I don't know if it's that hypnotic effect he has or just the fact that she knows the truth deep down. Whatever that reason is, he does come close before she remembers why that's weird and strange and she shouldn't do that.
Right.
But it almost has nothing to do with these strangers or that fear of the unknown. Because her reason is always Billy. It's always her family that she has here that she knows and loves. She can't leave them behind.
No, can't negate that for even a second.
Perhaps this is also true for Betty Ann. That this is her way of also saying, despite her complicated feelings, she really does have love for her adoptive family and wouldn't trade them for the entire universe.
I like that interpretation.
She goes deep. Betty Ann is so
I love Betty
much
Ann.
deeper than she comes across. And I feel like I say that every time we talk about her.
Yeah. She has this childlike way of expressing herself and like looking at things.
Yeah.
And she, like you said, she has an enthusiasm that isn't necessarily matched by even everybody at the campfire.
No, she's just happy to be there. Like it's so pure in a way.
There's a purity.
She doesn't have an agenda. She doesn't have a strong personality. She's just sort of there. She just wants to be there. She's just happy to be.
And she cares about it.
You know, invited to the meetings, you know?
Yeah.
And she does care about it.
And as we know, when you care about your subject matter, that's where the magic happens.
That's how you get 2 sponsors for your podcast. 2 and counting. Man, oh man. What a time to be alive.
That's it? You got it?
Yeah, that's it. That's all I've got.
Wow.
I just have a question about the aliens. Like, were they the tenants here 10 years ago, or did they just come totally fuck up the tenants who were here?
That's a question.
Left her by accident, and now they're back.
We don't know.
Exactly.
We really
Who knows?
Don't know. You can't ever be sure of anything once there are aliens involved.
Yeah. Once you have to account for aliens, it's like everything you know just goes out the window.
It really does. It has to. Blink knows that. Blink 182.
No, don't get me started.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. I love it. It's some of my favorite imagery.
Soft disclosure.
You gotta listen to Down Bad by Taylor Swift if you haven't heard it.
Soft disclosure. I can't wait for it to become hard disclosure. It's gonna get real. It's gonna get real, y'all.
Oh, God.
We need a president who will disclose all those documents. What happened to Jimmy Carter? Why did he turn into a skeleton person?
It's all coming.
Yeah.
Well,
it's going to happen.
Thank you all so much for being here with us today as we discover more of ourselves and each other. We
more every
do
day.
All of this for you to tell both ourselves and you that we're not alone in any of these things that we face.
That's true.
And feeling like a misfit
true.
Is showcased in this episode and in many of the things that we cover is a very common feeling, ironically, especially amongst our darklings. So thank you for being misfit with us.
I should have worn my misfit shirt.
I had mine on last time.
That would have been misfitting.
That would have been misfitting.
If I'd worn my misfit shirt.
If you're enjoying being not alone with us, you can also be even less alone with us on our Patreon at patreon.com/tpdpodcast.
Are we alone together or are we less alone together? Don't know.
The jury is still out. But it isn't for 2 patrons. We have to thank today 2 brand new patrons. Thank you so much to Katie E.
and Amber B.
Thank you.
So thank you, you two, for joining us.
Katie and Amber, we are so glad to have you on our Patreon.
Welcome.
You can also follow us on our social media. That's Pretty Dark Podcast on Instagram. That's Pretty Dark on TikTok.
Yeah.
I've recently posted a couple polls on our Instagram stories, and I think we're going to start adding some memes to our grid.
I like it.
A post did really well the other day, and it just got me thinking. You know, we originally started out wanting to just focus on the show. We didn't want to become a meme account. You know, we really wanted the podcast to be what was
those are a dime a dozen.
On display. So we don't want to become that. However, because we have so many Darklings there with us now, and we all relate to these things so much, we might be adding in some of that content. So, and the hope is that through the page, they will somehow find their way to the podcast itself, because this is where obviously all of our emotional conversations and pretty darkness resides. So we do our best to carry that over to social media, but clearly we are auditory people and this is where we live. So that is the hope.
Just getting through our own trauma week to week.
All of this trauma and this uncertainty, I guess, about who we are, whether it's a coming of age at teenagehood or different crises or experiences that you have as an adult.
Yeah.
It's all really just the fuel in our rocket ships. You might say.
So my current trauma,
is fueling your rocket
us
ship
through this.
Yes,
episode.
Exactly.
The outer space realm that we're exploring together this evening in the Twilight Zone.
A cloud of sparkling dust, space dust.
I like it. Maybe I'll watch Stardust tonight. It's a good movie.
I can't believe it's September, and we've got so much exciting stuff planned for you all. Just as we're wrapping up this episode, Kaylin, her wheels are turning, and she's realizing that all of her research needs to get done for some really fun stuff that's coming up. So
real quick, yeah.
I'm excited and terrified, as is my constant state.
It wouldn't be That's Pretty Dark if we weren't
Amen.
Terrified constantly. All right, guys. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for being here. See you soon.
Remember, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars.
Okay, I'll take it. Thanks for listening to That's Pretty Dark, written and produced by Christian Baxter Mott and Kaylin Andrews.
Our music is composed by Jonathan Simmons, and our art is provided by Paige Garland at Power Girl Illustration.
Join the collective nostalgia and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at That's Pretty Dark Podcast.
Share your experiences and let us know what shows, films, or villains still haunt you from childhood at that'sprettydarkpodcast@gmail.com. Remember, you're never really alone.
So until next time, sweet dreams, everyone.